Carrie Coon's work in The Leftovers was as close to perfect as television gets. Over 3 seasons, she turned Nora Durst into one of HBO's most haunting presences, a character you can't explain away and can't stop thinking about. Every scene carried risk, and she took it without hesitation, shaping moments that still stand at the top of Carrie Coon's best TV shows. That was no small feat. The Leftovers walked a tonal tightrope, folding surreal turns into the rawest grief and never once offering a clean answer. Coon lived inside that tension. She played a woman who understood the ground might give way at any moment, yet never let the audience see her grasp for balance. In a story built on mystery, she gave the show something steadier. Nora carried contradictions that stayed unresolved, which is why she felt alive long after the series ended. Carrie Coon is having a big year in 2025, so there's no better time to revisit some of her best work. Carrie Coon's performance in The Leftovers is still her most impressive. Carrie Coon in The Leftovers Season 3. When we first meet Nora, she's carrying an absence too heavy to name, the sudden disappearance of her husband and children in The Departure. Coon didn't need to explain it, the way she held herself told you everything. Before the show gave you details, you already felt the hole in her life. Even in a cast full of standout work, Coon's presence cut through. The Leftovers could have tilted toward the abstract, but she kept it grounded. Disbelief, anger, and yearning moved through her performance without warning, never settling into a pattern the audience could anticipate. She also knew when to pull back against the Leftovers cast. Against Justin Theroux's restless energy, she played stillness. With Regina King's warmth, she let Nora's guard slip, just enough to be felt. Christopher Eccleston's open-hearted optimism sharpened her own edge. The Season 1 Episode 6 guest episode sealed it. In an hour built almost entirely around her, Coon let you see someone holding themselves together by force of will. Carrie Coon didn't get any Emmy nominations for the HBO series. Nora, Carrie Coon, sobbing in The Leftovers. For all of that, Coon never got an Emmy nomination for The Leftovers. The show had the critics, but not the numbers, and awards voters tend to reward what's already in the spotlight. HBO was pushing heavy hitters at the time, Game of Thrones, Veep, shows built for bigger campaigns. A small, stubbornly emotional drama was never going to have the same runway, no matter how strong the work inside it. Coon's performance also resisted the kind of scene you can lift out and drop into a reel. Her best moments unfolded over time. You felt them build from episode to episode until they were impossible to ignore, but only if you'd been watching all along. Put her next to some of the performances that did win during those years, and the gap becomes clear. Coon moved between deadpan humor and complete collapse without tipping into showiness. The Leftovers remains one of Carrie Coon's most underrated TV projects. Kevin, Justin Theroux, and Nora, Carrie Coon, walk down a hallway in The Leftovers. Mention Carrie Coon now and you'll hear Fargo, The White Lotus, maybe even Coon's stellar performance in The Gilded Age. All worthy, but The Leftovers gave her room to work in moral and emotional territory most shows don't dare touch. The series thrived on uncertainty, and Coon leaned into it. She played Nora as someone defined by the strength it takes to live without them. That's harder to pull off than it sounds, especially in a show that didn't offer tidy resolutions. Other prestige dramas have tried the same mix of mystery and loss, Westworld springs to mind, but often drift toward spectacle with little substance. Coon kept The Leftovers tethered to a human scale, which made its strangest turns hit even harder. Her White Lotus Season 3 role moved in the opposite direction, marital competition, social maneuvering, a satirical charge. That work earned its own attention, with Coon delivering the 5 most stressful minutes of the season, but it didn't ask for the same intimacy. Even now, The Leftovers sits in that strange space between critical reverence and wider obscurity. Coon's work is a main reason it still has a pulse in the cultural memory. The actress's time as Nora Durst deserved more recognition than it got. Carrie Coon and Justin Theroux in The Leftovers. By the end, Nora's story had become one of TV's most radical portraits of grief. No clean closure, no neat answers, just a final stretch that was tender, unresolved, and entirely believable. Coon carried that ambiguity without letting it drift into vagueness. Across 3 seasons, Carrie Coon never let her best character calcify. Each time Nora returned to the screen, she was a little different, changed by time, still herself, but carrying it differently. That's rare to see over a long run. Plenty of actors reinvent across seasons, sometimes too visibly. But Coon kept the shifts in small things, the way she looked at someone, the pause before she spoke. The changes were almost invisible until you looked back and realized how far Nora had moved.